Today we're sitting down on the porch with Troy, a QHS member whose life is as heartwarming as a home-cooked meal. What paths did he follow to get to where he is today? Let's take a stroll down memory lane and see what's been cooking behind the scenes.
Hello, my name's Troy Klein. I am doing the Prequel. Helen, my dear friend, really urged me to do it. I'm not into this kind of thing, actually, and don't like, it almost feels like pressure to me. I'm just being very honest. Chronic people need as least pressure as possible, but I'm doing it to be obedient. I know it's a good program. I know the people behind it are good people. I understand frequencies somewhat, and I've had some tremendous revelation on literally how this works at the quantum level. It's amazing. First of all, I started out, had a terrible childhood. My father was very abusive as a kid. He would beat my mom in front of me from the age of three or four when I can remember it, till 10 when he shot himself. So a lot of trauma. Losing him, I loved him even though he was really never there for me. And if he came home in a rage, he'd pick me, if I was in a fight with my sister, he'd pick me up and throw me against the wall. All kinds of trauma. I mean, I'd watch him beat my mom for years. I'd hide from the hallway, and all that horror fear would go through me. And so I know that set the stage for, excuse me, a lot of things, a lot of weakening of the immune system. So as time went on, there was a relief when my dad took his life, because that abuse wasn't there, that terror, that coming home to that all the time and hearing him come home drunk and angry. And my dad's in heaven, I believe. That's another amazing thing. He had a lot of hurt because his mother would actually hit him as a baby because she rejected him, because my grandma got pregnant so young. So that set the stage for a weakened immune system. And then as I grew older, my mom unknowingly, the dentist, any little cavity would fill you with all kinds of mercury and amalgam fillings, which we know are toxic to the body. So as time went on, I actually after that happened, had an okay childhood, and I rebelled heavily when I was 15 or 16. But I had a fairly healthy lifestyle as far as how I felt. My health was good. I exercised, I served, took care of myself, and basically was in the gym from the age of 16, until I was bedridden, and that was for a good period of time. But anyway, as time went on, around 19, there was mold in a room I stayed in. I started getting bad insomnia from that. When I moved out from that, it went away, and I moved to the beach when I was 21, and I had been selling drugs when I lived inland in Ontario Upland area. When I moved to the beach, I stopped for a while, but then met someone and started dealing again and getting into the wrong scene. Pretty much knew everybody. I was a town Carlsbad until I was 24, and I got radically saved. But during that period, when I was 21, I started working at the nuclear plant, and I was feeling pretty good. I went from roofing, striking lines, loading and laying clay and cement tile literally on the roof in Palm Springs, 145 degrees up there, to working in a warehouse. And 6 months later, I'm completely fatigued and had no idea why. And it was because of the radiation I was getting from uranium dust. They call it fuel fleas, which they can never clean the material good enough. It's been in hot areas or in the reactor area when the reactor's down during an outage. They can never get it clean enough. There's always trace amounts. And they don't tell you to wear a mask. They didn't tell you to wear gloves. So I take the paperwork off the return material. By the way, the guys who prepared it got very sick too. And would lick my fingers to open the paperwork, touch these sparks all day long. And then I'd go back to the warehouse after processing them on the plant side and put them away. So I handled probably more of that type of material than most people in the warehouse. And after working there for 6 months, became extremely fatigued, going from, like I said, working as a roofer, some of the hardest work you can do with cement and clay tile, to working in a warehouse and having to rest every lunch period. Well, basically what happened at the age of 21 is that the heavy metals began to bring my immune system down, and the radiation, because it was uranium, spent fuel, bring my immunities down, and I got the Lyme disease I know came up then. It was Lyme. I was tested with it later on and shown that I had it for many years. So I started having, health problems and weaknesses, but I fought through it, and I fought through it, and I still continued to surf and stuff. And for years, and it was so difficult. So many days I would go off work for 2 or 3 days, just so fatigued, not knowing why, and I had a really bad boss who was very unsympathetic and would write me up and literally tell me to get back to work when I'm trying to deal with these health issues. And so finally at the age of 42, I think it was, I went off work for 2 years and 3 months, just so fatigued and so much mental derangement from all the poisons, the Lyme and everything else, the metal toxicity in my brain, and all that stuff. I never had vaccines since I was a baby. I heard about them. I heard about the Rockefeller medicine in the 80s, and a friend of mine was a great chiropractor, told me a lot of stuff. I read books on it and started to get awake about the medical industry and how corrupt they were, so I wouldn't take the vaccines. So I can't attribute my particular situation to that. So anyway, I was off 2 years and 3 months, and when I started treating, I did Reich machines. I still do ozone to this day. Ozone was a lifesaver. It helped me quite a bit, although it never healed me completely. It helped, and I did a ton of it. I did autohemotherapy. I did salt and sea protocols. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on practitioners and all types of different modalities. You name it, I've probably done it. So, come to this point after many, many years. And anyway, after 2 years and 3 months off, I went back to work. And finally, at the age of 49, I think it was 49, it was 2009, yeah, 49, the Lord told me to leave in prayer, deep prayer. The Lord said, leave. And I left San Onofre. And, I spent so much, all my retirement money to try to get better. Naturopaths have good interest, many of them, but they don't have the answer, to deep Lyme disease. I always say there's Lyme disease and there's Lyme disease. Some people get better very quickly, some people don't. And there's various factors that contribute to that, emotional trauma, things like that, which I've done a ton of inner healing for my emotional trauma. I don't have any bitterness towards my father and the violence he had. I can think about the things he did and the actual remember what situations, and I can think about it. Doesn't bother me any longer. That's good. That's much better. There's still, when I do these treatments with touch, I still notice emotions coming out because emotions are stored in the cells, as you all know, along with the toxicity. But anyway, I do notice this treatment is definitely doing things. I'm starting to sleep better, which is amazing for me. My insomnia has been my main thing. And if I overdo the treatment, like I did 2 17-minute treatments in a row, one at night, one in the morning, I became extremely fatigued the next day, but I was ready for it. I knew it was going to happen. And but then, I didn't sleep good that night. But then the next night, which is last night, I slept great. Amazing deep sleep, which I don't have. Also starting to have bowel movements, which I never have. Some people say, don't do coffee enemas because they do this and that. I'm sorry, but they have been a lifesaver for me, and they do release toxins much quicker as there's a pathway from your colon to your liver, a bile duct that opens up when you do coffee enemas and releases toxins prematurely, which makes you feel much better. So that has been a lifesaver. If I didn't do them, I'm sure I would have died because I was so backed up and it's so painful. So that's another thing that I've always done and will continue to do until I'm better, because they do help relieve. And even yesterday I did 2 because I was so toxic, and I feel much better today. I only did 1 minute this morning on the touch because I want to keep some frequencies in me and keep it going. And I was up to 8 minutes, but I'm going to maybe do 5 minutes tonight and work up to a regimen and an amount that I can do daily eventually here. But I'm working it up slowly. If I have to do it every other day, I will, until I can do the amount I can do, because I'm come here, you calm down a little bit. I'm extremely sensitive. Anyway, I look forward to this. Again, one thing you have to really do, you have to forgive. Jesus said if you don't forgive, you're turned over to the tormentors, and until you repay every cent. So you have to forgive, or you're going to be dealt with by the tormentors. That's just what Christ said. So I definitely hold forgiveness very close to my heart, and examine myself daily to see if I'm of the faith. We need to pray heavily against the the whole medical industry, the whole Rockefeller Rothschild banking industry, as they are coming down. Babylon is about to fall. Just a side note, the doomsday pre-rapture doctrine and all this terror, horrible tribulation stuff came from a satanic Mason as well named John Darby. Schofield had Darby's notes in his book. Tim LaHaye was also a Mason who promoted the Left Behind series in the 90s. Research all this I have. I've verified everything over and over and over, as a true reporter should do. And Babylon will fall. Revelation 18 is coming on them. And the end times will be good, not doomsday. The earth will be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. As Habakkuk 2:14 says, and Isaiah 2:2 says, in the last days with no one's interpretation, the mountain of the Lord's house will be established on top of the mountains, and sorry about my hair, and exalted above the hills, and all nations will flow to it. We're going to see great and mighty things before the Lord comes back. Revival is coming. A golden age is coming. I truly believe that. We will see like a golden age, like a millennium of good. Okay, the knowledge of the glory of the Lord covers the earth as waters cover the sea, where we see the nations discipled. That should be our mentality instead of being ready to escape. The secret rapture doctrine, you guys, is nowhere in Scripture. You have to read it into the Scriptures. I'll debate anybody on this stuff. I've studied it for years. I've taken theology, which is here or there. But I can prove these things presuppositionally, that God is going to fill the earth with His glory, that we're going to see the greatest outpouring and the greatest cultural change of the seven mountains of society that we've ever seen in society, that we've ever seen in the history of the church. I truly believe we're coming into great things. And this amazing treatment is part of it. I bless Cynthia, Dr. A, and all these wonderful people involved with this treatment. Nothing against you guys. I think everything's great. I'm just not into points and that type of thing. But again, I will do it out of obedience. And I think you guys are amazingly great people. Okay, there's more to say, I'm sure, but I look forward to the continual healing. I've had some amazing days, amazing clarity at times, but then I have some very down days, very hard days, which I'm very much used to. I'm mentally prepared for this, and if I sound a little negative at times, it's just because of this state I'm in. I try to fight it best I can. I try to speak the truth in love. There's power of life and death in the tongue. There's frequencies in our mouths when we speak. You know, when we agree with heaven for healing, there's power in that. I've seen about 1,000 healing miracles, even though I haven't got mine yet supernaturally. Think about it. When Christ healed, He spoke, okay, that healing. That was a frequency that healed people. That was the quantum realm. You know, He created things out of unseen things. That is the quantum field. I mean, I've had so much revelation on this. I need to start writing it down. It's so biblical, it's not even funny. There's a quantum field for everything. Everything vibrates at a frequency, from your desk to your computer, which some of those frequencies are great. Change your computer screen to a red background instead of blue. You can do this in systems and accessibility. There's a lot to say on these frequencies, but they're amazing. I started learning about frequencies with all the Rife machine technology I did years ago, which was helpful, but never brought me to the promised land. But I do believe that this will bring us to the promised land as it becomes perfected. I hope in the state that it's in now can completely heal us, and I don't know how soon, but I'm going to stay with it and see, because it's the best thing we have going, and I do believe they have the answers and the technology to perfect it and get that QArc going. So with that, you guys, God bless you. Thank you for listening to me. May the Lord bless you. May He heal you. Make His face shine upon you and give you peace in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Join us on the Prequel, where every story matters and every voice is heard. Because here at QHS, we're all about healing, learning, and growing together.